Imagine a world where a bomber could outrun a fighter jet, a six-engined behemoth that could kiss the edge of space at 3 times the speed of sound. This wasn't science fiction. It was the North American XB-70 Valkyrie, a machine so advanced, so audacious, it seemed plucked from the future. But this magnificent bird, a testament to human ingenuity, was destined for a tragic fate. This is the story of the plane that was simply too fast, too ambitious, and ultimately too star-crossed to ever fulfill its incredible promise. In the heart of the Cold War, the United States Air Force dreamed of a new kind of weapon. They needed a bomber that could penetrate deep into Soviet airspace, deliver its nuclear payload, and escape before anyone even knew it was there. The existing bombers, like the B-52, were becoming vulnerable to new Soviet surface-to-air missiles. The solution: pure, unadulterated speed. The requirement was simple yet staggering: fly at Mach 3 at an altitude of 70,000 feet. At that speed and height, it would be untouchable. In 1957, North American Aviation won the contract to build this dream machine. They named it the Valkyrie, after the mythical Norse figures who lived and who died in battle. The name was fitting. The XB-70 was a technological marvel unlike anything seen before. Its long, slender fuselage, delta wing, and distinctive canards at the front gave it an otherworldly, almost swan-like appearance. It was a giant, over 185 feet long, with a wingspan of 105 feet. To handle the intense heat of Mach 3 flight, it wasn't built from ordinary aluminum. Instead, engineers pioneered the use of titanium and brazed stainless steel honeycomb panels, materials that could withstand temperatures that would melt conventional aircraft. One of the XB-70's most brilliant innovations was a phenomenon called compression lift. The engineers designed the wingtips to be hydraulically folded downwards in high-speed flight. This trapped the supersonic shockwave generated by the aircraft underneath its own wings, creating an extra cushion of high-pressure air that literally helped it ride its own shockwave, improving lift and stability. It was like a surfer catching the perfect wave, but this wave was made of air, and the surfboard was a 240-ton bomber. Powering this beast were 6 General Electric YJ-93 turbojet engines nestled together in a massive rectangular pod under the fuselage. Together, they produced a colossal 171,000 pounds of thrust with afterburners engaged. To put that in perspective, that's enough power to launch a small ship into the air. Everything about the Valkyrie was extreme. It was the peak of aeronautical engineering, a project pushing the absolute limits of what was thought possible. Finally, on September 21, 1964, the first XB-70, designated Air Vehicle 1, or AV-1, rolled out of the hangar. Its first flight was a nerve-wracking affair. It was a giant leap into the unknown. The test pilots, Al White and Joe Cotton, were true pioneers, flying a machine more complex than the space capsules of the era. Early flights were fraught with challenges: hydraulic leaks, landing gear malfunctions, and issues with the complex engine inlets plagued the program. But slowly, painstakingly, the team ironed out the kinks. On October 14, 1965, the Valkyrie finally achieved its design goal. It flew faster than Mach 3. For a brief, glorious moment, the dream was real. The Valkyrie was the fastest bomber on Earth, a ghost in the sky that no one could catch. But the world was changing faster than the Valkyrie could fly. The very threat it was designed to evade, the surface-to-air missile, was evolving. New, high-altitude Soviet missiles like the S-75 Divina, the same type that shot down Gary Power's U-2 spy plane, were making high-altitude penetration increasingly risky, even at Mach 3. Furthermore, the dawn of the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, or ICBM, was changing the face of nuclear strategy. Why risk a multi-billion-dollar bomber and its crew when a missile could do the job faster and with no human risk? The XB-70's primary mission was becoming obsolete before it even entered service. The program, once a top national priority, saw its budget slashed. The planned fleet of bombers was cancelled. Only 2 prototypes would ever be built. The Valkyrie's mission shifted from strategic bomber to high-speed research aircraft. NASA became involved, eager to collect data on high-speed, high-altitude flight that would be invaluable for future supersonic transports and even space travel. The second prototype, AV-2, was even more advanced, with design improvements that allowed it to maintain Mach 3 flight for over 30 minutes at a time. The program, though scaled back, was still providing priceless information. The Valkyrie had found a new purpose, but tragedy was just around the corner. June 8, 1966. It was supposed to be a routine day. After a successful research flight, the XB-70 AV-2 was scheduled for a photo op. General Electric, the manufacturer of the Valkyrie's engines, wanted photos of the bomber flying in formation with other aircraft powered by their engines. An F-4 Phantom, an F-5 Freedom Fighter, a T-38 Talon, and an F-104 Starfighter. It was meant to be a showcase of GE's power and versatility. The formation was tight, perhaps too tight. The pilots were flying closer than they normally would for the perfect shot. The F-104, flown by renowned test pilot Joe Walker, was positioned on the XB-70's right side, tucked just behind the massive delta wing. It's believed that the F-104 was caught in the powerful wingtip vortex of the giant bomber, a swirling, invisible tornado of air. The smaller starfighter was suddenly pitched up and rolled inverted over the top of the Valkyrie. In a horrifying instant, it struck the XB-70's twin vertical tails, shearing them both off before exploding in a ball of fire. Joe Walker was killed instantly. Aboard the mortally wounded Valkyrie, pilot Al White and co-pilot Major Carl Cross were initially unaware of the exact nature of the impact. The massive bomber continued to fly straight and level for 16 agonizing seconds. But without its vertical stabilizers, it was doomed. The XB-70 entered a flat, uncontrollable spin. Al White managed to eject, but the G-forces were so violent that his ejection seat malfunctioned, and he was seriously injured. Tragically, Carl Cross was unable to escape and went down with the aircraft. The magnificent Valkyrie, the second and most advanced of its kind, spiraled out of the sky and crashed into the Mojave Desert. The crash was a devastating blow. It wasn't just the loss of a priceless aircraft and 2 brilliant pilots. It was the final nail in the coffin for the Valkyrie program. The remaining XB-70, the original AV-1, was limited by technical issues and could no longer safely push the high-speed envelope. It flew a few more research missions for NASA, but the heart of the program was gone. In 1969, it made its final flight to its new home, the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force in Dayton, Ohio. And there it sits today, a silent giant under the museum lights. It's a bittersweet monument, a testament to a time of incredible ambition, when engineers dared to build a plane that could outrun the sun. The Valkyrie was a technological triumph, but a strategic failure, a victim of changing times and a tragic accident. It never dropped a bomb, never entered service, but its legacy lives on. The data it collected paved the way for future aircraft, and the materials and techniques developed for it are still in use today. It remains a stunning example of what happens when we push the boundaries of possible. A beautiful, tragic queen of the skies, forever too fast to fly. Thanks for joining us on this look back at the XB-70 Valkyrie. If you enjoyed this story of aviation history, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most incredible machines. Let us know in the comments what other aircraft you'd like to see us cover. Until next time, fly safe.